happy shiny puppies. This is Melody Fletcher, author of Deliberate Receiving. Finally, the universe makes some freaking sense. And this is day 12 of my 30-day video challenge. So today I want to answer a question that came to me from an email as part of the 30-day video challenge. People have been sending me emails and comments and Facebook comments and YouTube comments, and I do read them all. Even though if I can't reply to them all, I do my best to absolutely keep on top of that because I'm loving what is happening there. And so I received a question from Sarah, I believe, who wanted to know the difference between sort of setting boundaries and walking away. Yeah. So being in a relationship and putting up with stuff and trying to look at, find those positive aspects and look at it in a positive way. And when do you know when it's time to walk away? Well, here's the thing. I think there's a little bit of a misunderstanding in the work of the law of attraction. That people think that you're supposed to try to look at things that don't feel good and find a way to feel good about them, which is a little bit like me handing you a shit sandwich and then you trying to put sriracha or something on it, or salsa or whatever, and making it taste a little bit less shitty, but you're still going to eat it. You are never ever ever going to enjoy that shit sandwich. You're not. Yeah. And so what it really comes down to is paying attention to how you feel and what's really bothering you. So instead of trying to look at things that currently bother you in a positive way, look at what it feels like and what it's really about. Because this person may be triggering you, but it's probably not about them. It's about whatever is, it was already present within you and they just brought it out in you. So you might have some resentment, or you might have some stuff going on. And so that's always the first step, is you kind of take a look at yourself and say, what does this feel like? What's, I'm going to sit with it. I'm going to see what this is really about. I'm going to see if anything needs to be shifted there. Am I putting up with something that I don't want to put up with? Am I sacrificing too much? Am I compromising who I am? Am I doing things that I don't want to do? And then honoring yourself and getting back to, yourself, because you never want to compromise fundamentally who you are. And you don't want to give when you don't want to give, because that will just breed resentment. That's what that means. You're giving more than you want to give. That brings up the emotion of resentment. Yeah. But not, blaming the other person and saying, well, you're doing this, you're making me feel this way. Nobody's making you feel anyway. You're just feeling that way. Yeah. And you need to take a look at what that feeling is really about. Now, having said that, yeah, once you do the work, whatever work you do, whether you're looking for positive aspects or you're doing the shifting, if the dynamic of the relationship, if the behavior doesn't stop, if it doesn't become awesome. Notice I didn't say if it just becomes, not bad. If it's not awesome, yeah, if you're not excited about this relationship, if you're not loving what's happening, then it may very well be time to walk away. And the only reason that we don't generally is because we're afraid. We're afraid of not finding another partner, never falling in love again, never finding anybody as good as this, never mind better. Yeah. So there's different degrees to this, because obviously if somebody's being abusive, you setting a boundary means that you're probably going to walk away from them very quickly. You're setting a boundary, don't do this, they do it again. A boundary is not a boundary unless you're willing to enforce it. And ultimately, the enforcement is walking away, being willing to walk away. If you're not willing to do that from any situation, then you're not really setting a boundary. And just to kind of reiterate what I've taught several times on my blog, is that there's a big difference between setting boundaries and trying to control somebody else. Yeah, a boundary is about you, controlling them is about them. So you don't get to do that, that's control. You don't get to do that to me, that's a boundary. Yeah. Which means that sometimes you just kind of got to walk out of the room. You walk away from the situation. And then you come back when everybody's calmer and you can talk about it. So if you're putting up with things that you don't want to put up with, the first person you need to take a look at is you. Why are you putting up with that? Stop it. Yeah. And then if it's not exciting for you to be in this relationship anymore, if you don't really feel like you're gaining anything from this relationship, you're just holding on to it for the sake of holding on to it or out of fear, then you want to take a look at walking away from that relationship, detaching from it, and doing that work. Yeah. I remember I was watching an Abraham tape one day, and a gentleman got up and asked a question. He was in the hot seat, and he said, "You know, I think it was his wife. My wife and I have been in this relationship, and for the last 7 years, we have known that we're really not meant to be together. But we decided to stay together to try to hammer out all of our sort of, you know, limiting beliefs, because, you know, you've taught us that if you don't, you know, take care of it, you're just going to attract the same relationship again." And Abraham was probably a lot more tactful about it than I would have been, because I was kind of yelling at the screen going, "Oh my God, leave." You know, because 7 years, you know that you're not excited about this and you're still hanging on to it. Oh my God. Yeah. And so it can be surprisingly difficult to do that. It's much easier to sit here and say this than to go through that situation where you have to come to the realization that this isn't going to become something better. So one of the things that I love to point out to people is that you need to take a look at how it felt when you came together, first of all. And if you weren't excited then, you're not going to be excited ever. Yeah. Because vibrationally, it doesn't get better from that point. That, you know, the start of it was already not good. There was already no match there. It's not going to get more exciting. You're not going to become attracted to somebody that you weren't attracted to, or, you know, whatever. If you are excited to be with each other, but this person triggers you, well, that's normal. That's called a relationship. Yeah. Then those are the triggers that you work on, and you don't have to break up because somebody triggered you, unless it's something that you find totally unacceptable and you can't get away from, or it's something that they continue to do. They're continuing to cross a boundary of yours. Then that's no longer a trigger. Then that's something that you need to walk away from. But in that case, you're probably not that excited about the relationship. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not attracted to the person or you don't see good in them. And it doesn't mean that they have to be an asshole. They could be the nicest person ever. Yeah. But you're just not feeling it anymore. And then it's okay to walk away. And by the way, you can have a breakup that isn't even ugly. That is possible. We might talk about that in another video. Yeah. So hopefully it's kind of cleared up when to walk away, when to know if you need to walk away. It's given you a couple of aha moments. Yeah. So now I want to know from you, have you gone through the situation, you know, where you had to realize that it was time to walk away? And what was the thing that made you realize it? Because I think this is a great opportunity to share this information with each other so everyone can learn from one another. I've kicked it off here, but it's up to you to keep it going. So share in the comments if you've gone through the situation, if you've had that aha moment, okay, it's time, and what brought you to that realization. And I think that will be super, super valuable. So if you guys are willing to, I would sure appreciate it. So I will see you tomorrow. And in the meantime, thank you for bringing your light to the world. And happy, shiny, smushy, smushy, puckety hugs.